Now, I've spoken with many of you, and if there's one theme that always stands out, it's the pressure you feel to get things done more quickly and efficiently than ever. And so I thought immediately of a customer that I wanted to bring on stage to help give us a story of the journey they've been through and the technologies and processes they use at Alaska to deliver great results for their company. So let me introduce Mike Larengo, Director of ITS Architecture and Strategy. Thanks, Mike.
All right. Thanks, Bill. At Alaska, we have a cloud-first, mobile-only vision, and we're leveraging some key technologies in Microsoft to achieve that. What I want to first is add a little context around that. So if you go to the next slide there, thank you. Over 70% of our workforce is truly mobile. They don't sit at a desk. Their office is at the airport, on the airplane, or on the ramp. And they're always taking care of our customers. Because of them, we've been recognized as having the highest customer satisfaction of any traditional carrier in North America 8 years in a row by J.D. Power. We've given our employees over 10,000 mobile devices to our frontline teams. And we are continually adding more features to put on those devices. We are truly operating in a mobile world. We now have more mobile devices than desktops. We started small at Alaska, born in Alaska in 1932, flying a single airplane from Anchorage to Bristol Bay. Today, we fly over 100 destinations in Canada, Mexico, across the mainland United States, Hawaii, and of course, the great state of Alaska. We've added 3 new routes in September, and I'm proud to announce that in October, we're flying to our 4th country, Costa Rica. Now, when it comes to the cloud, we have a similar philosophy. Start small, think big. And we began our journey with Azure earlier this year and now have 5 applications running. We've identified over 100 applications or services that we're targeting for future cloud deployments as we move forward into our journey into the cloud. And we're leveraging Azure App Service. We don't want to maintain the underlying infrastructure, the OS, the patching, and the upgrade, all that entails. Instead, we want to focus on delivering business value quickly. And we're also taking advantage of our continuous delivery model, where we can basically leverage automation and build and commit and deploy using continuous integration and deployment to kind of speed that, increase our velocity as we speed delivery of that business value to our customers. Now, as an example of that starting small, thinking big, I wanted to give an example of an application that we're working on, and it's introducing a whole new experience for our employees for standby travel. As employees of Alaska, we enjoy standby travel benefits, allowing us to fly on all the great destinations that Alaska serves. But our current solution was basically a classic ASP website. It wasn't responsive. And so when employees need it most when at the airport, they basically had to go into this website, and it was a poor experience. So a team of volunteers set out to basically transform that employee experience, and we wanted to make it available on all 3 mobile platforms as native apps. So we leveraged the Xamarin tool set for that. And we wanted to center out the day of flight, and then also, as we're kind of doing this continuous delivery, get feedback from our users about what new feature they would like in the next app. And so we're leveraging Xamarin for that cross-native platform experience, and then we're also leveraging Azure App Service on the back end so that the team can focus on delivering the experience to our employees. And as our CIO likes to say, be scrappy, not crappy. And so we're also standing on the shoulder of giants. Those people before us, we're actually making a hybrid model call to our services on the back end using Azure API Management. And I'll talk about in a second. But first, what I thought I'd do is I'm going to do a few things. I'm going to go through a demo of Hopper, the application. I'm going to show how we're provisioning some of our environments through automation and using Azure Resource Management and JSON templates. And then I'm going to show you kind of how that we speed our workflow using Visual Studio Online, where I can actually commit, build, and release using build and release management in Visual Studio Online. So with that, I'm going to switch over to the iPhone here. And I'm going to show you, I've already got my listings up. So we can switch over. What you'll see here is this is my listings. I'm actually heading out to Boston tomorrow. If I go look at that, what I'll see is I'm probably not going to get on no open seats. In the past, what we'd have to do is we'd have to go out and go log on to the website and see whatever the other alternate flights that we can do. Our employees have given this feedback via the app, and I actually have a new release here. You'll see there's, hey, I can go and see what are the other ways I can get to Boston. In this case, I'm pulling it up. I say, actually, I might be able to get on a red eye tonight. So that's just an example of how this team is starting small, thinking big, delivering new features. And as an example of what we're using in the background, we also have the feedback in the app so I can rate my experience. And this will be making a call back into Azure App Service and storing it in SQL Azure. So I'm going to rate my experience, and I give a little note here and give a shout out. Hey, Hopper team, my day is awesome now because of this new release. Okay, we'll do that. We'll tap that. I'll send that, and that's going to send it back. Thank you for your feedback. We're continually enhancing the app. All right? So what I just showed you there was that kind of iterative development that the team is currently doing. And again, it's a volunteer team that's doing all of this. What I wanted to show next is, if we can switch over, and this is our environment. This is actually a demo environment that I have running in Azure. But you'll see that I have a website or a HOP resource group here. And what I want to do is provision kind of the production environment using Azure Resource Manager. So I'm going to go to Visual Studio here. And I have a script here, a PowerShell script. We make this part of our release deployment. But I'm just going to show you how easy it is to deploy something. We have the parameters here, or the resource I'm going to deploy. So I'm going to right-click on this here, execute script with parameters, and I'm going to use the production parameters. And it's going to go ahead. Oh, it's going to prompt me to sign in here. Just do that. And what it's going to do is it's actually going to start kicking off building a resource in Azure. And so I'm going to flip over there, and we can quickly see it's going here now. It's starting it. I'm just going to go over here, and while that's going, I can just maybe refresh this, and we'll see now I'll probably have a HOP resource group that's being built out in production using Azure. So again, that's automating all that, so we don't have to go click all this stuff. We can just focus on doing our work. So what that's deploying is I have a QA website here, and this is the app web page that we use to kind of tell people about the features, what we're doing, and they can download the app and provide feedback. Oh, looks like it's done. Flip back. And here's an example also where we're using Azure App Service to pull information from that SQL database. And I can refresh the feedback here, and hopefully we'll see our feedback from me saying what a great job, and see how it is, and get a shout out to the Hopper team. Day is awesome, right? So that's just an example of how we're using feedback to get into the app. The last thing I want to show you from a demo perspective is just how we commit that code and how we go through release management. So here I'm actually just highlighting how we're going to update the web page with the information about the new release. I'm going to go over here. I'm going to commit the code. I'll say new release. I'm going to commit that. That's going to commit that to Visual Studio. And actually, I got to sync that first and push my commit to the master. And it should be initiating the push. And now what I want to show you is what we're going to see on Visual Studio Online, how that's going to happen. So if I go here, it's check maybe the queued builds. There it is. That's queuing up. And I can actually see the build happening here. And so this is actually building in the cloud, pulling that together, and we'll start deploying into Azure. And I'm going to go over to our release management tab over here while that's building. Do a quick refresh. And we have different environments. We have dev, we have QA, and we have production. And it hasn't yet done that yet. We'll come back to this. I'm going to show you how we all put it together by going back to the slide, and then we'll come back to this in just a second. So if we go back to the slide, and I want to give an overview of the application. So as I mentioned, we're deploying to all three platforms, native applications using Xamarin. We're making calls to the mobile API to put our feedback in Azure App Service, and we're all deploying the web app in Azure App Service. We're also leveraging services built in our on-premise data center using API management. So again, that's how we get that information about the flight. Okay? And then finally, we use Visual Studio Online to show how we do this commit, deploy, get that workflow going to continue and focus on adding new features to the product. With that, let me just do a quick step, and if it hasn't quite finished yet, what we'll do is we'll just continue on. It looks like the build has worked. I'm going to come over here to our release management, refresh that, and we should see maybe that the steps are progressing. And actually, dev is completed successfully. I'm not going to go all the way into production, but I will show you what we have here in production, what I did in QA, is the ability to approve or reject the deployment. So I'm going to say, let's release this to QA. Oops, QA. And we'll go ahead and approve that. And that will start the deployment to QA. Now, if I should be able to see that feature, it's going to take time for the thing to spin up. We can come back to that in a second. If we can go back to the slide, I just want to sum up kind of the start small, think big philosophy. Really, what we did is we identified an app that has high visibility, but low priority. We care more about, we focus more on our critical systems and our customer-facing systems. But we found an app that is actually highly visible. Leverage app services to focus on delivering that business value and less on the underlying infrastructure. And then adopt a continuous delivery model to increase the velocity and the quality with which you deliver that product. We saw how we use gather feedback via the app and how that we cycled that back in to the application and just building this kind of rinse and repeat and expand that. And then finally, share your story. Share your story within your app, within your company, with your friends. What we found is people have learned from us, but we're also learning from other people within the company. And that's how to make it successful. I see over here, if I can switch, just to show kind of in dev to my desktop here, we'll see the new release, same-day flight nodes are now published. So with that, I want to thank you very much for your time.
Great job. Thank you. That was awesome, huh? If you're interested in building an app just like that, using Xamarin Tools and Azure App Service, we've got something for you to try. Check out aka.ms/trymobile, where you can find an open source project that Xamarin worked with us on, with all the source code available to show you both on the client and the service how to build a great application just like Alaska just showed us. You probably noticed a theme here. You saw with Alaska an employee-facing application. You saw with NASCAR a customer-facing application. And with Jet earlier, you saw a consumer with e-commerce application. All of these apps running on Azure App Service. This extremely popular service is used by more than 60% of our paying customers today. It hosts hundreds of thousands of applications worldwide and transacts billions of requests every single day. App Service hosts all kinds of modern apps, web backends, mobile backends, APIs, and even logic apps or workflows. App Service provides auto-scale and auto-patching, of course, and it supports all the popular languages that you use to build apps and APIs. It also integrates with all the source code control systems that you use. So for continuous integration from GitHub or VSO, Bitbucket, and more. Earlier this year, we announced App Service Environment. This is a fully isolated environment to run your apps. App Service Environment provides you the ability to scale to billions of requests every single day with dedicated front end and back ends that you control. This gives you full isolation from other tenants, and it's ideal for corporate apps and data. In fact, App Service Environment lets you connect the service environment to your own VPN network with high-speed VPN connections that allow you to have hybrid-type applications with connections to on-premise databases and services. Today, I'm excited to announce the general availability of Azure App Service Environment. This means you can run your own environment in production and enjoy a fully supported SLA, starting today. Now, having worked in this space for a while, I can say definitively there is no one-size-fits-all solution when it comes to application platforms. One thing we embrace at Microsoft is the requirement to have a variety of options available to satisfy the diversity of developer preferences and application needs. This is one reason you see us embracing excellent solutions from open source and offering open source-based services like Hadoop, our Redis cache service, Linux VMs, and support for Docker, just to name a few. Scott mentioned earlier that we're introducing a new Azure Container Service built on open source Apache Mesos in collaboration with Mesosphere. This service helps with overall management of Docker containers, and it'll offer a new powerful abstraction for running apps in the cloud. And to tell us more about this and show us a great demo, I'd like to introduce Ben Hinman, co-founder and CTO of Mesosphere, as well as Mark Rasinovich, our CTO.
Thanks.